right, so let's do day 3 of 30 days of Galactics. So this one is my friend Irwok. Now Irwok, for those of you who know the word Zeta Reticulum, he is a Zeta-like being. I believe he is Zeta Reticulum actually, but I often use that word because they've been around for millions, if not billions of years, and there are tons of different beings that look like that species, that star system, or that maybe even all originated in that star system. And so I often use that to describe them because they're usually hairless, big heads, big eyes, all these different things. And sometimes they don't give me race names. So that's a thing I'll talk about a lot of times, is like they'll just be like, well, why is that important? I don't need a label. And so they'll just be like Zeta like, that's kind of what we are. And there are different actual races and that sort of thing that people connect with. The Eben, EBEN is one. Some of them call themselves Zeta, some of them call themselves Zeta Primes, some of them call themselves other words, but I feel like it just depends on who you're talking to, whether or not you're going to get a label. Now, Irwok was on a ship that I was visiting, and he was, I don't remember exactly how I met him. I remember I was going up to the ship and I was meeting with a hybrid. There's a hybrid being there named Carrie, who I'll talk about in a later video. And she was showing me around and showing me all these things. And she showed me how to go up to basically this docking port where what we would call UFOs, they're just ships, vehicles. They're not UFOs to them, they're identified objects and that, or UAPs and all that. And told me how to get up here, showed me how to get up onto these decks, and there's these elevators and all this other stuff, and you can see ships coming in left and right. And I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff, from the classic saucers to, tubes standing up, and big massive ships and small tiny ones and all this, because it's like this place is a spaceporty type of energy. So at one point I go up there and there's a walkway, and I go down the walkway and there's a craft, and the Zeta like being standing there, and Carrie, I believe if it's been a long time, I believe she introduced me, or maybe I was just walking around and he started talking to me, but he was sitting there, he had a screen, and he's got this like device, and he's going through all this stuff that is like he has to do type of thing. And he starts talking to me, tells me his name's Irwok, that he's going to be working with me, and that he's essentially like a taxi driver. The way he explained it, he's like, the words you would use in your language are taxi driver. Like, somebody needs a ride, I get in, I go pick them up, I take them, and drop them off wherever they need to go. So he would do that kind of thing, and then he had this list of like, okay, I got to pick up this person, these people, this all this type of thing. Going through it, time is not the same for certain, because it was very much like he was talking to me about at some point picking me up, and I was like, oh, when's that? And it's just kind of like, well, whenever I get to you, but you're on the list, but whenever I get to you, I don't know type of thing. So we built this relationship that was just based around the knowing that at some point him and I will be working would be working closer together. And so we started talking about different things, and I would go up to the ships, and sometimes he would be there, sometimes he wouldn't, and kind of just talk about random stuff that was just on the collective mind, I guess, so to speak. And one day I was talking about the financial system, and people were asking me like, what's going on with the financial system when it collapses, all this other stuff, what's going to happen? Now, before I get into some of that, there is an hour-long video on my YouTube. It is one of my most watched videos about this thing. So after you watch this video, if you have not seen that, go watch that. in far more detail. That gets into like some of the nitty gritty things they've explained to me and experiences I've had around it. But when I asked my guides, I go, okay, can you bring me somebody who knows about this new shift in that? And they brought me Irwok, and I was kind of like, isn't he a taxi driver? And not to like, judge or anything, but I was like, I thought that was his job. And they're like, yeah, but he has the information. He'll give it to you. Let him be your like your point man. He knows exactly what's going on anyway, and starts describing how a lot of the things that we need have been here for a long time. They're already integrated. One of the things he was describing was the fact that when I asked the question, I'm like, well, if it's a quantum system that just divvies out money and energy based on your authenticity and all this other stuff, then what's the how does that even happen? Like, and he goes, well, everything's connected anyway. You guys have phones, you have apps, you have banks, you have all this stuff, and it's all tied together. It doesn't even matter. They can just flip a switch and that system starts rolling. So he was interesting because I got to experience some of that stuff in that way, more just talking about that quantum financial system and learning about it, and then just going up and experiencing the ships and them talking to me and being like, oh, this ship is this ship is that. I can't remember if it was him or so there was another being who was more of a gray-like being, but very, very friendly. But this other being moved more robotically. Like Irwok was more organic in his movements, and this other being was more robotic. Now I don't remember which one it is, which is why I'm saying this. But one of them even pointed out some of the like ships that like humans. They're like, that's a human one, and talking to me about those types of things and making me really realize like, oh, this isn't just something I'm making up in my head. Like these beings are even going, that's a human one. This is a galactic one. This is these are beings from another planet, another dimension, all this other stuff. So that was really cool to experience. And it's one thing that as you awaken, you can end up finding yourself invited up to these ships, up to different places. Typically, you will either be taken in your sleep and remember it as a dream, or you will go up astrally. If you go up astrally, that's when you're in meditation and your energy, you feel your energy leave your body and go up. And then you can have remote viewing too, where you don't leave your body, but like say you're connected to a guide. It's the way I do a lot of my work anymore. I don't really astral travel. I kind of remote view in their energy, and they can show me around without me ever having to leave my body type of thing. It's a less energetic interaction, I guess is the way to put it. It's kind of a safer interaction, uses less energy, and it's quick. You don't have to, a lot of times when you want to astral travel, people have to relax their bodies and do all this work, and when you do remote viewing, it's just boom, gone. So when you have that connection to that being, so the point is, like, you might get invited onto these ships and stuff, and it doesn't hurt to when you're guided to. Now remember, when you're up in some of these places, you may end up having a guide follow you around and be like, when you're here, you have to talk to me. When they release you and go, hey, you can go into this area, it doesn't hurt just to walk up and be like, hey, who are you? What are you doing? Or just to sit there. What I did is I was more going up, and there was a railing that kind of looked down. I think it was on the second floor. There were like multiple floors where they were docking ships because all of the different sizes. So some of them would like park or land or whatever you want to call it, and they would be able to get out on the first floor. Some of them needed the second, third, fourth. It went up quite a ways. And I think I usually went up to the second floor, and I would just like sit with my arms, and I was astral. So energetically, I'm just kind of got my energy arms over the railing. I can feel the railing and everything, like it translates through to your physical body. You can feel it, you're just kind of looking around. And then what happens is the beings who can see energy and do that, they notice you're there. So I even had humans, which I'll talk about in the future. I've had humans. I've had a Saurian who I didn't realize at the time. I don't believe I knew the word draconian at the time. I may have, but a lot of those words I learned after meeting a lot of these beings, which was good in my opinion because I didn't have all the stigma around them. But I had met one of them. He was with the little grayish robotic moving in being that I experienced too. You know, I met Irwok. I met just going and sitting in some of these places and not expecting anything was the big thing. I would go, I would sit, I wouldn't expect, and then those who could see me would walk up and be like, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" Even to the point where I had beings who were coming through for clients that were on the ship or would go to that space. And then when I was up there, I'll never forget, I had one like waiting in the distance while I was talking to my guide. I could see her, short little 2-3 foot being with like these shield. She didn't have hair. It was like shield layers on her head and like not scales, but I don't know how to describe it. Just shieldy types things. Really crazy kind of looking, interesting being. And she's standing there just sheepishly, very shy, standing in the distance, making sure I know she's there. And I'm talking to one of my guides, Arcturian guides, by a fountain. And they walk away, and then she just comes up and she's like, "Thank you for drawing me and doing all this and that." And it was a beautiful experience because it was just a traveled space for physical and energetic beings. So that may happen to you in various ways as you're going on your journey. You may experience the ships and other beings, and just go up there with no fear, no expectation. If you do, stay protected. Stay with your guides when they say to stay with them. They are there. I know there are people out there who have this idea that when they're astral, they can do and go wherever they want. And let me be very clear about that for anybody that does have that thought. There is a reason your guides will tell you no, and it is not because they're trying to control you or keep you away from stuff. There are energetic consequences to being in the fields of individuals you're not ready for, or going into places where there are species that do not like humans and that sort of thing. So whenever you have guides up there, remember, listen to your guides. They're there to guide you, protect you, and show you the ropes. And then as your energy raises and you get used to these different vibrations, you'll be able to experience more of them without your guides saying, "Hey, don't talk to them right now. Like, wait, you don't want to get in that vibration yet until you do XYZ." So keep that in mind. They're there to help you. But on the ships, you might see beings that look kind of like this, little grayish blue. He's more gray, but has like these bluish tones and purplish tones with the light hitting him and stuff. And he was a ship captain, taxi driver, as he called himself. So that was Irwok, and some other storytelling, I guess. If you have questions, let me know in the comments. I will start with another Galactic tomorrow. I'm not sure who yet. And just, let me know if you have questions, comments. Thank you for watching. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And if you want to drop some support, go to awakenwithwillow.com. Thank you all. Love you all.